Is it him?
How old is this thing?
It predates all known timelines, sir.
Rain tapped against the window in a slow, uneven rhythm, like the final beat of a heart growing tired of the world. The room was dim, cluttered not with life, but with remnants of it. Old books unopened for decades, photographs curled at the corners, furniture more dust than wood. And in the centre of it all sat the old man, shoulders slumped, hands resting on his knees as if waiting for time to give him one last reason to rise. He stared ahead, not at the flickering television, nor at the weak light of the lamp beside him. His eyes saw something far deeper. Memories turned to ghosts. A plane ticket he never bought, a letter he never sent, a match he never returned to play, a woman he let walk away because it seemed easier than saying the truth. He had made a lifetime of safe choices, of calculated inaction, of living not boldly but carefully, like a man walking the edge of a cliff with eyes closed, not from courage, but from fear of what he might see if he dared to look. And now there was no one left to impress, no one left to disappoint. His children were distant echoes, growing in their own worlds, and he didn't blame them. He had shown them a life of quiet surrender. He whispered into the silence, "Was this it? Is this all?" A cold breeze drifted through the sealed window. Then the light dimmed, not in the room, but in the soul. From the corner where the shadows gathered, a figure emerged, tall, pale, cloaked not in cloth, but in something far more ancient, an aura of finality. Sythras, not a vampire in the stories men tell to scare children, something older, something true. The old man did not scream. He only closed his eyes as if he had been waiting for this visit. Sythras stood over him. "You remember me?" the voice rumbled, not like thunder, but like the absence of all sound. "You saw me once, when you were young, on that night by the lake." The old man nodded, trembling. "Yes, I felt you. But you didn't come." "I chose not to," said Sythras. "I watched. I believed you would rise. You had the fire once, the desire to become. I saw it, and I waited. But you never came." The old man looked down at his hands. "I was afraid." Sythras leaned closer, his voice a velvet blade. Afraid of what? Of failure, of pain, of judgment. "I didn't want to lose what little I had." "And what did you gain?" Sythras gestured to the room. "This? Emptiness in a house filled with things you never needed. Silence where your voice might have sung. You feared loss so much that you gave up everything worth gaining." The old man's eyes welled. "But it's too late now." Sythras did not move.
"It is never too late not to see, and I want you to see before you pass into the cycle."
There was silence, a silence that stretched into the soul. Then Sythras spoke, slowly, like a verdict being carved into stone. "To choose the lesser path because it is easier is not humility. it is betrayal. To silence the voice that says create, strive, speak, that is not peace. It is death before dying. You lived not as a man, but as an apology. You waited for permission, for validation, for certainty. But life grants none of these to those who beg. The moral crime is not to fall short. It is to never attempt. You had a duty, not to others, but to yourself, to sculpt from your time the highest version of what you might become. To evade that is not caution, it is cowardice. And cowardice is the rot of the soul. The old man whispered, I didn't know how. I didn't know what I was meant to be. Sythras stared with eyes that had seen empires crumble and gods kneel. You were meant to try. That was enough. A long pause. Then the old man asked with trembling breath, And now, you've come to take me? Sythras stepped back. Not yet. I want you to answer one question. He leaned close again. What did you truly lose by never risking? The old man's face cracked, a dam breaking. Everything, he whispered. I lost everything and never knew it until now. Sythras nodded slowly. Then perhaps...
It's time to rejoin the cycle.
Morning broke with sirens, not sunlight. The cul-de-sac had never seen this many flashing lights. Yellow tape flickered like dying flames in the breeze, circling a house that looked too ordinary to be of any interest. And yet here they were, ambulance, police, and a silent van bearing no markings, but parked with calculated precision across the drive. Inside the home, chaos bloomed. Uniformed officers moved with routine, securing the scene. Forensics dusted, catalogued, photographed. Medics had arrived, only to confirm what the neighbour's call had already reported. The old man was dead. He lay still in the armchair, eyes open, mouth slightly parted, as if trying to form his last word. No wounds, no blood, no trauma, except he looked drained, not pale, empty, as if something had scooped the life from him like marrow from bone. And amidst all the noise, 3 men entered who did not belong. The lead man moved with a gravity that silenced the room, not through authority barked, but by the sheer weight of his presence. Tall, lean, severe, a sharp black suit with a silver pin that glinted once and then disappeared into shadow. His ID was shown only once. Nobody questioned it. Agent Harlan. He was cleared for everything. Clear the room, he said. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone moved. Soon, only 3 remained, Harlan and 2 operatives in tactical black with equipment cases slung over their shoulders. One of them knelt beside the old man's body, examining the neck. A beat. Then he pulled back the collar. 2 tiny marks, barely visible, but unmistakable. Sir, said the kneeling man, it's him. The second operative crouched beside him. Fresh, he muttered. 2, 3 hours ago at most. Harlan exhaled through his nose and looked around the room. 3rd one this week, he said. 3rd drained husk. 3rd clean scene. No signs of entry. No defensive wounds. No goddamn energy signatures. We get nothing. He leaves nothing. The second agent had already opened a compact scanning device, an odd fusion of LiDAR, thermal, and waveform tech never meant for the public eye. He swept the room slowly, pausing every few seconds. No trace. No etheric shift, not even a residual magnetic pulse. Whatever this is, it doesn't want to be found. Harlan paced once, then stopped, looking out the window, his jaw clenched. Then, softly, the younger of the two operatives spoke. "Sir, what if it's not just a rogue? What if he's not one of them?" Harlan turned. "Speak plainly." The agent stood up, nervous. "I mean, what if he's not just a vampire? What if he is what the text said?" Harlan narrowed his eyes. "You think this is death?" The agent nodded slowly. "If he is, then he's tangible, real, which means—" Harlan finished the thought. "We can capture him." The other agent glanced at the body. "And if we can capture him, we can study him," Harlan said. "Understand how it works. Life, death, the soul. Immortality, maybe. The ultimate conversion of energy. God's final law. Broken." Silence. Then Harlan turned to the old man's corpse. "He thought no one would notice, but I've seen this signature before." He snapped his fingers. The younger agent started taking photos. Flash, flash, flash. A document case was opened, samples taken. Skin, air, trace energy. "Mark it, archive it, cross-check with the other two." "And if we find a pattern?" the older agent asked. "We find him," Harlan said, "and we do what no one's ever done." He turned towards the door. "We bring death into the light." They exited quickly, silently. No words wasted. Outside, the sun climbed through a pale sky, never knowing it rose over a world where death was no longer a myth, but a man. The office was silent. Silent in the way places are, only after midnight, when even the air forgets how to move. Inside, the soft hum of old fluorescent lights flickered above rows of sealed cabinets and one battered oak desk drowning in paperwork. It was the quiet centre of madness, and Agent Nathaniel Harlan sat alone in it, chasing a ghost older than the word. His tie was loosened, his shirt sleeves rolled. A half-drunk cup of coffee sat ignored beside a black and gold dossier folder, labelled simply Sythras, Cross-Time Anomaly. On the desk lay hundreds of images, some printed, others holographically enhanced, a few preserved in glass sleeves like ancient relics. The photos were not arranged chronologically, because they couldn't be. Time no longer cooperated when Sythras was involved. Harlan reached out and turned over the first. 1943, Berlin. A war-torn alley, soldiers running, blurred, behind the chaos a figure, cloaked, too tall, not running, watching. His eyes, the only colour in the entire shot, faintly glowing red, despite being a black and white photo. No explanation. Original negative confirmed authentic, not edited. He slid it aside. Next, a colorized still from a 1912 carnival in Paris. Performers, fire eaters, jugglers, in the crowd. Again, the silhouette, cloaked in black. No face, no reflection in the glass display case behind him. Identified by analyst Tiernan as similar to the Watcher of Antwerp, 1847. No known identity, no follow-up. Disregarded as superstition. Then resurfaced again. Another file. Ancient Egypt. A digitized fragment of papyrus scroll. A drawing of Anubis. But beside him, another figure. Taller. Wrapped in black smoke. Instead of a jackal's head, he had no head at all. Just two red dots drawn where the eyes should be. The hieratic text read, "The one who did not kneel before Ra, the shadow who returned the sun to the sky." Jesus, Harlan muttered. He tossed it aside, now fully immersed. 15th century Japan. A charcoal ink drawing. A monk kneeling before a dark figure in the forest. Above, the characters loosely translate to, "Death comes not with noise, but with stillness, and eyes like burning night." He kept going. A sketched engraving from an Aztec codex, a godlike figure depicted with outstretched arms and shadow, bleeding from its fingertips into the people below. The tribes called him Tzompotli Nokli, the one who eats the quiet. A 1960s photo from a collapsed mine in Kentucky. Rescuers posing in triumph. In the far back, just visible in the collapsed tunnel, 2 crimson lights in the dark. He shook his head, breathing shallow now. Different names. Same figure. Always watching. Never aging. Never intervening. Until now. He opened a final file. Modern. A colour still from 2017. A security camera in Syria during a drone strike. Amid the fire and rubble, a single figure stood untouched. No heat signature. No movement. Cloaked. Still. Eyes burning red through the falling ash. Analysis complete. Drone sensors detected nothing. Optical only. No human shape registered. Classified as anomaly. No follow-up authorized. He stared at it, his eyes strained, and then it moved. Not the room. The photo. The ash in the image drifted ever so slightly. The cloaked figure turned its head. Slowly. Toward him. Harlan shot up, knocking his chair back. Papers flew. His heart pounded like a hammer inside a coffin. The photo lay still. Perfectly still. Nothing moved. Just a photograph. He leaned in again, breathing sharp. The figure stood exactly as before, unchanged. Silent. Watching. "Just tired," he whispered. But deep down, he knew. This wasn't just fatigue. This was contact. He collapsed into the chair, rubbing his face, staring at the desk. He began mumbling to himself as he flipped through pages. Time-stamped anomalies, regional sightings, forgotten worship cults, and old Vatican archives sealed with black wax. "Where did you come from? How old are you? Why now?" But no answers came, only the sense that somewhere, beyond time, beyond place, Sythras had paused and was watching him back. Beneath the city, far beneath the streets filled with traffic, neon and the ticking of modern time, the forgotten breathed again. Once, this had been a factory. Machinery rusted in the corners. Steel beams creaked from memory rather than strain. Now the factory slept under the illusion of abandonment. Signs outside warned of collapse, radiation, unstable ground. No one entered. But beneath the facade, beneath rust, rot and warning, Sythras had built a sanctum. It was perfect. A tangle of old tunnels extended like veins beneath the industrial district. Some connected to neighbouring power grids. Others led nowhere, just long hallways carved by something far older than man. In the main chamber, darkness pulsed like breath. No lights flickered, not because they were off, but because they obeyed. Sythras stood at the centre, still, immense, cloaked in the void he carried with him, his form wrapped in tattered black, melting into the walls, his face invisible save for those 2 ancient red eyes, glowing like embers, fed by centuries of silence. Before him, monitors stacked on top of each other, hundreds, perhaps more, analog, digital, infrared, satellite, each fed from a different part of the world. Cities, deserts, war zones, hospitals, prisons, sanctuaries. Sythras watched. He did not watch to control, he watched to balance, to ensure the cycle flowed unbroken. Birth, suffering, death, silence, return. This was not religion. This was not vengeance. This was design. On one central monitor, a single image flickered over and over again. A face, tired eyes, square jaw, purpose carved into bone. Nathaniel Harlan. The image looped in silence until Sythras leaned forward, and in a voice that sounded more like distant thunder than breath, he spoke. "You seek to enter the cycle." The screen crackled faintly. "Then the cycle will welcome you." He didn't move again. The screens shifted. Some showed children, others killers, some dying, others being born. Sythras simply watched. Meanwhile, it was well after midnight when Agent Harlan pulled into his driveway. The rain had stopped, but the streets still glistened, reflecting the pale orange glow of the street lamps like smeared fire. He stepped out of the car, briefcase in one hand, the other rubbing the back of his neck. His wife opened the front door before he could reach it. She smiled. "You're late again." He gave a tired nod and stepped into the house. The light inside was warm, safe. His daughter's shoes by the stairs. A blanket tossed on the couch. A photo of a birthday party still pinned to the fridge. Home. "Dinner's in the oven," his wife called from the kitchen. "I'm not hungry," he said, hanging his coat, and as he turned to walk toward the stairs, he paused. The hallway light had been left off. A single bulb overhead flickered once, then steadied. Nothing unusual, but still, something. The house was silent, but not empty. Something watched. In the far end of the hallway, the shadows had thickened unnaturally, pooling, as if they no longer obeyed the contours of the wall. They weren't just dark. They were void, and from the deepest point of that shadow, two faint red eyes opened. No sound, no movement, just presence. Sythras had found him. The morning was soft, the kind of morning that had tried to pretend the world was still normal. The smell of eggs and burnt toast drifted through the small kitchen. A low hum of city noise bled in through the cracked window. Birds, distant traffic, someone's dog barking at ghosts. Agent Nathaniel Harlan sat at the table, unmoving, eyes sunk into the wood grain, as if the answer to everything was etched beneath the surface. His wife placed a cup of black coffee in front of him. "You've barely touched anything," she said, watching him. He didn't respond right away. She leaned against the counter. "You're somewhere else. You've been like this for days. What's going on with you lately?" He stared at the mug. Then finally, a case. Her brow furrowed. "You've had cases before." "Not like this one," he said, rubbing the edge of the cup with his thumb. "This one has me stumped. Like it shouldn't exist." "Stumped?" He looked up, met her eyes. His voice was low, distant. "It's like one of those old horror movies from the 70s. You know, the slow, creeping kind. Something powerful, ancient, and no one can stop it. But the twist is, I'm starting to think it's real." She hesitated, still holding a dish towel. "Like a monster flick?" He nodded. "Yeah, like a vampire movie." Then added, "Only not. How?" He looked away. "There's no seduction, no charm, no castle with crumbling chandeliers, and no pretty count trying to lure you with his accent and his cheekbones. There's just presence. It doesn't feed, It corrects. It doesn't hate. It ends. It's not even evil. She leaned forward slightly, voice soft. Sounds creepy. He let out a short breath, almost a laugh, but not quite. Then he said, "You know why I got into this job?" She didn't speak. She knew, but he needed to say it. "I didn't want to be a watcher behind glass. I wanted to make a difference. I thought maybe if I got high enough, I could help people, not just protect them from each other, but give the right ones a chance to build something. A better world. A world where the people who work hard, the ones who dream, the ones who get kicked down and still get back up, could do that without being robbed for it, without being afraid to try." She sat beside him. Her hand touched his. He looked down again. "I was good at what I did. Too good. Now I sit at the top. I don't catch killers anymore. I don't stop crime in back alleys. My job now is to find this thing, this death, and figure out how the government can use it." He looked up again, slower this time. His eyes were hollow, but sharp. "And I asked myself, if this really is death, if it's the last truth, the final correction, and if we've built a world full of effort, invention, redemption, why do we try to stop it?" He paused. "If we've truly become more, then maybe we should accept that it comes, that it always does." His wife's voice was soft but unwavering. "Because even if it's death, it doesn't get to decide who we are on the way there. You didn't start this to stop endings. You started this to make sure people had time to begin." He closed his eyes for a moment, just one, then nodded slowly, and then his phone rang. He answered. "Sir, it's Ramirez. We got a lead." Harlan's body straightened like steel, finding its memory. "Go on." "Infrared anomaly in an abandoned industrial site on the west side. Heavy power drain and an optical glitch we think is connected to the thing from the last site. Still no EM signature, but we flagged something." He stood. "Send me everything." "Yes, sir." The call ended. His wife looked up at him. "Another day in the cycle?" He didn't smile. He only leaned forward, kissed her forehead gently. "I've got to go." And with that, the door closed behind him. But in the corner of the room, just behind the kitchen curtain, for a moment, the shadows stayed just a little too long. No drone could track him, no satellite, no thermal sensor, no motion scan could mark his presence. Sythras, the eternal force mistaken for myth, wasn't bound by the technologies of men. He moved beneath them, around them, through them. But tonight, he chose to be seen, just once. A camera feed flickered to life in the depths of the tunnels, a faint, grainy image. A figure of shadow, wrapped in a cloak of withering darkness, standing still amidst dust and concrete. 2 red lights glowing where eyes should be. The image was captured, flagged, relayed. He knew it would be. Then he waited. Like a spider weaving its final thread, he watched. The monitors in his sanctum flickered endlessly. Politicians lying, hands clasping wealth and power, people broken under systems that fed on their labour and gave back only silence. The cycle had to continue, because when the balance broke, the price was paid in screams. He had visited kings and cowards, saints and monsters. Thousands had been claimed. Now he waited for one more, and then, he moved. Not with footsteps, but with absence. Like a wraith, like a ripple in the walls, he slipped deeper into the earth, disappearing, just as the first vans and black cars screeched to a halt outside. Outside, boots hit pavement. Agent Harlan, in his grey suit and long coat, stepped out. Around him, a team in full tactical black, faces covered, unmarked. Ghosts sent to capture a shadow. His eyes locked on the factory. His voice calm, clipped. "We want it captured, not destroyed." No one questioned him. Within seconds, they moved. Swooping into the building, they swept room by room. Hallways lit only by their flashlights, abandoned metal groaning above them. The tension built. They expected contact. They expected horror. Instead, they found nothing. Silence. No figures, no traps, no life up until they reached it. The monitor room. Hundreds of screens, all black. Dust still fresh in the air. All of them off. Except one. It glowed. Static, then colour. Harlan, at home, sitting at his dining table, unaware. Recorded. The agents paused. Harlan's voice was barely above a whisper. He knows. One of the soldiers turned. "Sir." Harlan's eyes widened. He was never here for us. This was bait. This was a message. He shouted, "My home. He knows where I live." A deeper dread hit him like ice. He whispered his wife's name. "She's alone." Cut to Harlan's home. A warm, quiet domestic scene. His wife sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, headphones in, typing, scrolling. She does not see it. Behind her, in the corner where the light doesn't quite reach, a shape, no, a void. The shadow is so deep, it drinks the colour from the air. It has no edges, only presence, no detail, only two red stars, faint and fixed, watching her, unblinking, unmoving. Sythras is there, and she does not know. Suddenly, her phone rings. She jumps slightly, pulls off her headphones. "Harlan." She answers. "Are you okay?" she says. His voice is tight, urgent. "Listen to me. You need to leave. Right now." "What?" "Go to your sister's. Take nothing. Just go, now." "Nathan, what are you talking about?" "Please, I'll explain later. Just trust me. Don't look back. Just go." She hears the fear in his voice. Okay, she says. She stands, looks around. Nothing seems wrong. She walks toward the stairs, quietly. One last look back at the kitchen, still warm, still normal. She heads upstairs, enters the bedroom. The door shuts behind her, and standing there, inside the room, is Sythras. He does not move. He does not speak. He simply is. The room darkens slightly, as if time itself pauses to watch. Harlan's car skidded hard into the driveway, headlights cutting across the front of the house like blades, gravel scattered beneath the tires. Behind him, a black van screeched to a halt, doors already swinging open before it stopped. He was out before the engine shut off, gun drawn, heart in his throat. "Move," he barked, storming toward the door. Tactical agents followed, black-clad, silent, alert. Inside, silence. Too perfect, too untouched. Harlan's breath caught. He called out, "Claire?" Nothing. His phone came up in his hand, shaking slightly, dialing, ringing. From upstairs, a faint ringtone. He turned, eyes wide. "She's still here." Motioning, he led the team up the stairs. Bedroom door closed. 3, 2, 1. They kicked it open. Inside, no Claire, just the phone, buzzing softly on the bed. He rushed in, grabbed it. "Claire?" No answer. He dialed again. Her sister? Nothing. Another agent came rushing up. "Garage is sealed. Her car's still here." And then it hit him. His breath fell out of him. I handed her to him. His gun lowered. His shoulders dropped. "No. No." He staggered. She had nothing to do with this. 5 agents stood nearby. Black gear. The best tech money could build. Weapons humming. Eyes scanning. One of them twitched. Then buckled. He collapsed with a thud. "What the hell?" Another turned. Eyes wide. Nothing there. Then another agent slammed into the ceiling and crumpled to the floor. Gunfire erupted, aimed at shadows. Wild, controlled panic. But there was nothing to hit, until something formed. Not a man, not a monster, but a wound in reality, a void. Sythras. He did not step forward. He grew, like a rising column of unraveling shadow, absorbing the light, the colour, the shape of the room. The bullets fired, vanished into him. No sound, no sparks, just gone. 2 long curling tendrils of black mist shot out, snatching the remaining agents, slamming them into the walls and silencing them with inhuman grace. Only Harlan remained. He stood, blood at his temple, clip empty, breathing, reloading, futile. Then a hand, or the idea of one, reached out, touched his chest, and he was gone. He collapsed onto concrete. The abandoned factory. His stomach churned, nausea from whatever that travel through shadows had been. And then his eyes focused. Claire, sitting in the corner, eyes wide, alive. "Claire?" He ran to her, grabbing her, pulling her close. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. She only stared behind him. He turned, and Sythras rose from the floor, like steam from the mouth of hell, unfolding into a silhouette of pure darkness, taller than anything should be. A swirl of black wrapped his form, those crimson eyes glowing deep inside a skeletal hollowness. Then he spoke. "I have given you a rare reprieve. You would have fed the cycle already, but I am intrigued. Why would a man willingly invite death into his home, into his bloodline?" Harlan stood between Claire and the void. "She has nothing to do with this. It was me. Take me. Leave her." "You speak as if you have something to offer." "I can take you, her, this city, the entire world if the cycle demands it." Harlan, panting. What is this cycle?" Sythras moved no closer, but the air grew heavier, like being buried in silence. "The cycle of survival. It is what moves your world. Hunt, hunger, pain, creation, death, rebirth. It is older than your nations, older than your gods." Harlan's voice cracked. "Then take me. Let her go." You shout as if shouting rewrites meaning. You are part of the cycle. So is she. So is the gazelle before the lion. So is the lion when it grows too old to hunt. Sythras began to move forward. Slow, certain. Harlan raised his arms in defiance, but then Claire stood. Harlan turned. "No, Claire, don't." She stepped around him, eyes locked on the swirling void. Her voice did not shake. "This cycle, it should not be of death, but of life." Sythras paused. She continued. "Nathan has always served your cycle. He gave everything to build the world you now judge. He climbed not for power, but to protect, so that those who dared to grow could. He kept the wolves at bay. He cleared the path, so the strong could rise, so the good could thrive. You speak of the gazelle feeding the lion, but who taught the gazelle to run? Who nurtured the field where it grazes? You say the cycle demands him, but I say the cycle owes him. Not for defying it, but for serving it better than any. Silence. Sythras stopped, not in power, but in thought. For the first time, the shadows around him ceased their motion. The red light in his eyes dimmed, not out of weakness, but out of consideration. He looked between them, and for the first time in 1,000 years, he did not move. From Sythras, the void rippled. 2 long skeletal shadows stretched forth, not with speed or aggression, but with the weight of inevitability. One reached for Harlan, the other for Claire. They didn't run. They didn't scream. They simply froze, because their bodies already knew. This was not death. This was before death. The moment the shadows touched their skin, they fell. Not physically. They fell through everything. Darkness.
Did you know there is a tale hidden in the shadows? You found the trail, but the full truth lies deeper. Check the description, if you dare.
Then light, then movement. Harlan gasped. Claire stumbled beside him. They stood nowhere, and yet everywhere, all around them. The sky stretched like cracked stone, painted with violent red and black clouds. Below, a sunless plain sprawled endlessly, dry, wild, untouched. A sound, the snarl of a beast. Ahead of them, a lion, muscles rippling beneath golden fur, slowly stalking through tall grass. Nearby, a herd of gazelle grazed, a baby among them, weak-legged and new. Claire reached out instinctively, but her hand passed through the grass like smoke. They were not here to intervene. They were here to witness. The lion crouched, leapt, and struck. The young gazelle fell. Blood, dust, silence. And then, calm. The herd moved on. The lion fed. The grass bent and rose again. And beside the lion, a tall, cloaked figure stood silently, watching. Sythras. Suddenly, the plains crumbled away, like paper folded in flame. Now the world was sand and gold, the age of pharaohs. Harlan and Claire stood in the shadows of towering monuments, while sun-bleached banners flapped in hot wind. Processions of priests walked barefoot in reverence, while slaves dragged blocks across stone paths. A child wept in a marketplace. A king laughed from a balcony. In a hidden chamber beneath the city, a man pleaded for his life, sick, broken, consumed by greed. And from the corner, Sythras emerged. Not walking, not appearing, but unfolding, like a thought that should not be remembered. He touched the man, and the man died. Not in pain, not in rage. He simply ceased. Above ground, rain fell for the first time in weeks. Fields were fed. Children laughed. The river flowed again. Balance. The cycle. Again, the world changed. Now they were moving faster. Flashes, centuries, civilizations, wars igniting, plague spreading, corruption rotting from within. Each time, Sythras stood nearby, sometimes watching, sometimes acting. One touch here, one life ended. a thread pulled from the web to stop collapse. He was not evil, he was not cruel, he was correction. Just as the plains could not survive too many lions, so too could time not survive too many kings. Then darkness, endless, cold, still, and in that void, Sythras stood alone, not regal, not monstrous, simply present. His voice echoed in a place beyond sound. I do not know where I began. I was never born. I simply was. Before the first city, before the first tool, I walked. There were no names, no fear, no worship, only need. When the world wept under too much hunger, I came. When death was mocked, I corrected. When men tried to rule time, I reminded them. I am not purpose, I am not judgment. I am balance. Harlan and Claire stood side by side, eyes wide, breathing shallow. The visions, the knowledge, the presence of an eternal truth had cracked something in them. And just like that, they were back, concrete beneath their feet, the abandoned factory around them. Sythras, once again towering before them, his body swirling with shadows, light bending away from him like gravity. He stepped forward. Now, you know the cycle. Now it is time to join it. Wait. Harlan's voice cut through the dark like a blade. Sythras paused. The shadows around him quivered, not in weakness, but in awareness. Even the void seemed to lean in. Harlan stepped forward. I accept it, he said. I accept that I'm part of this cycle. In fact, I offer myself freely. Behind him, Claire screamed, No, Nathan, don't. He raised a hand gently, not to silence her, but to ask for trust. Let me speak. Sythras tilted his head, just slightly. The swirling black slowed. Harlan looked up, into the endless, burning red eyes. This city, he began, is like your plane, like your lions. He breathed hard. If there are too many lions, or the wrong lions, greedy ones, gluttons, then the balance is broken, the cycle bends, and eventually it dies. Sythras said nothing, listening. I offer myself, Harlan said, standing tall, but not for nothing. His voice deepened with conviction. I ask you, save the city. Let it breathe, let it heal. Let the ones beneath rise again, not be devoured before they can grow. There was a beat of silence. Then Sythras spoke. You would offer me your cycle freely. Harlan looked him dead in the eyes. Yes, master. Claire sobbed behind him. Please, don't do this. Sythras moved slightly forward. Shadows flowed around his feet like oil. Then name your terms. Harlan exhaled. There is a man, he said. His name is Victor Draven. On paper, he's a business magnate, but underneath, he owns most of the city. Politicians, courts, media, police. Gangs serve him like warlords. He uses fear like currency, threatens lives, silences voices, stunts growth. I tried to reach him when I was younger, but they promoted me upward, took me out of the fight. He stepped closer to Sythras. I was outplayed. I didn't need to be destroyed. They just used me. He clenched his fists. If he was gone, and his network, the city would rise again, like grass after the lion leaves. The air was still. Then Sythras spoke. You think I do not know of this one? His voice was low, heavier than grief. I have watched. From the corners, from the chambers of his councils, from the mouths of those he silenced. I have waited for the moment when the cycle would call him. A pause. "It pleases me that it shall be now." Harlan closed his eyes, a tear slipping down. He had not saved Claire, not yet, but he had moved the cycle. And then... "And Claire?" Harlan asked, his voice barely more than a breath. Sythras was silent. Shadows coiled behind him like serpents. Then, "We shall see." It began with a whisper, then a scream, then silence. In the back alleys of the Eastern District, a low-tier gang boss, known for skinning debtors alive, awoke to darkness. Not night, but a crawling, living dark that oozed in through every crack in his bunker. His guards didn't scream, they didn't fight, they just stopped. Frozen, breathless, then fell. By the time he made it to the hallway, the shadow had already entered him, and he was gone, dropped to the ground like a puppet with its strings severed. Sythras had begun. In a dockside club, 3 rival crime lords drank beneath blood-stained chandeliers. They were untouchable, bribing police, burying reporters, running an empire of needles and fear, until the lights flickered, until the chandeliers stopped swinging, until the void walked in. They reached for weapons. They shouted. No answer came. Each one died without visible wound, their faces drained of colour, their lips parted as if trying to speak final confessions they no longer understood. Across the city, corrupt officials felt a sudden chill. One, in mid-speech, collapsed behind a podium. Another died smiling on the live television, eyes wide with sudden knowledge. No blood, no drama, just an ancient silence, devouring the rotten roots. In hours, what generations of justice could not touch, Sythras ended. No fanfare, no survivors. And then, Draven. His mansion was a fortress, walled, armed, lined with guards, scanners, drones, hidden kill corridors. It didn't matter. The first guard blinked, turned, and fell. No bullet, just a sudden absence of life. Then another, and another. Men shouted. Automatic fire burst through the air, but Sythras did not stop. He did not even slow. He moved through the shadows like an infection, as if the very walls whispered him forward. Each man he passed collapsed, souls claimed without resistance. To witness him was to feel unmade. Their bullets vanished into the black, no sparks, no hits. They shot at smoke, at void, at judgment. Soon, no one was left. Inside the mansion's throne room, Victor Draven waited. Late 50s, towering, heavy-set, skin like polished wax over muscle, draped in a dark velvet suit, gold rings, and a face of forced calm hiding feral fear. He sat beneath a chandelier shaped like a crown, the king of a decaying world, gun in hand, drink beside it, eyes fixed on the door. He heard the last gunfire fall to nothing. He heard the footsteps, not loud, but heavy, like time itself walking. Then Sythras appeared, a shadow, not cast but formed, rising in the doorway like a silhouette of night itself, towering, formless, and yet defined. The red glow of his eyes cut through the room like 2 embers in fog. Draven staggered back. No. He raised his weapon, fired. The bullets vanished. You, Draven hissed. I knew you were real. I knew it. He laughed, mad, cracked. I sent a team years ago. Built them from the best. I gave them the best tech. I made a whole department just to track you, to bring you in. He pointed with a shaking hand. You think Harlan rose on his own? I put him there, to find you, to contain you, because I knew what you were. He shook his head, trembling. But you You can't touch me. I built this world. It lives because I feed it. I own this city. Sythras moved forward, not walking, not floating, just existing closer. Draven's voice cracked. You can't touch me. And then, I do not need to touch you, Sythras said. His voice was the breaking of a mountain. The cycle claimed you long ago. Draven gasped. Men like you, leech from the world. You rise not by strength, but by standing on the backs of the strong. You break those who could build. You devour what others grow. You are not a lion. You are not a builder. You are not even the fire. You are the rot beneath the skin of a dying city. He took another step. You bend the cycle until it snaps and call it success. You are not feared because you are powerful. You are feared because the world has grown tired, and you still sit atop it. A hollow shape filled with the weight of stolen effort. Draven dropped his gun. Hand shaking, Sythras leaned in, his mouth opened. Inside not teeth, not tongue, only void, a spiraling eternity, devouring everything. Draven tried to scream, and then darkness. The world had screamed. Now it was silent. The city, once rotting beneath layers of greed and hidden blood, was still, as if holding its breath in awe or in fear. Sirens did not wail. No headlines raced to catch the story. For what had passed was not for the world to comprehend. It was for the cycle. In the cold, hollow shell of the abandoned factory, Sythras stood once more. Claire and Harlan appeared, swept through shadow, disoriented but whole. They coughed, breathed, looked up, and there he was. The void made flesh, still, silent, unmoving, like a god turned to stone. Harlan, torn, clothes tattered, stepped forward, his eyes once sharp with purpose, now dimmed by truths too large to carry. So, he swallowed. Are you going to kill me? No response. The shadows did not flicker. The figure did not shift. Just silence. And then, a voice. Not deep, not thunderous, soft, young, human. From behind them, a figure stepped forward. A girl, perhaps 12. Her head was shaved smooth, her eyes wide and ancient, far too knowing for someone so young. She wore a dress that looked like it belonged to no time. Her bare feet whispered across the concrete. You are not to die, she said plainly. You are to live. Claire clutched Harlan's arm. The girl turned to them, her presence strange, unsettling, yet gentle. Sythras has given you a chance. The cycle is sated. Tonight, many lives were taken, and every one of them was necessary. Every one brought balance back. She stepped beside Sythras. He does not move because he has no need to. He is not waiting. He is simply here. But you must leave. Harlan blinked. Who are you? She looked at him. A smile flickered. Not cruel, not warm, just true. I am Ella. I was made from shadow, shaped by his hand. I am his voice when he chooses not to speak. Her eyes found both of theirs. Do not search for him. Do not speak his name in places of power. Do not try to understand him. When the cycle calls for you again, he will come. That is inevitable. She stepped closer, voice quiet now. Live your life. Take the risks you always feared. Grow. Do something with the breath you've been given. Be the best version of yourself. And if you do, Perhaps when he comes again, it will not be to take, but to witness. She stepped back. The shadows began to curl again, rising like smoke. "Leave now," she said. And so they did. Harlan took Claire's hand. They walked out through the tunnels, out into the city. The sky was just starting to pale with the breath of dawn. Smoke still hung on the horizon, but the night was over. In the distance, the world stirred. The old world had ended, and something else had begun. Not salvation, not peace, just the knowledge that death walked in the shape of a man, and the cycle would always return. Epilogue. Keeper of the cycle. Ella stood at the edge of the broken floor, beside the still, silent shape of Sythras. The city lights flickered in the distance, unaware of what had passed beneath them. She looked up at him, not in fear, nor in reverence, just knowing. "They will never understand you," she whispered, "because you are not meant to be understood." The shadows around Sythras did not stir, but the air grew colder, as if the void itself acknowledged her words. She continued, "They call you Death, a wraith, a god, but none of those things are true. Not really. You are the cycle, the keeper, the hand that steadies what would otherwise tip." A pause. Her voice softened. "There was a moment, long before memory, a moment when the fabric tore, just enough, and in that silence, where a man once rewrote the very laws of time to save what he loved." She looked at the swirling dark. "You were born, not made by hands, not summoned by blood, but breathed into being by reality itself." A correction, an echo of balance. The void beside her shimmered, slightly. She smiled. "You were never a villain. You were never a savior. You just are." The wind outside picked up, pulling at her dress. "Come," she said at last. "Let us return to the dark, until the cycle calls again." They vanished. No sound, no farewell. Only the faintest gust of shadow through the factory's broken glass, like time itself exhaling. And then, nothing. Only silence.